Bring in show music, please.
Hi, I'm CNBC producer Katie Kramer. Today on Squawk Pod. Spanx founder Sara Blakely, she's added high heels to her business portfolio.
I wanted to see if I could invent a comfortable stiletto. And I started 10 years ago. It was a side hustle.
Turns out she's pulled it off.
I've had men pull off the side of the road here in New York and yell like, "Love your shoes!"
And what U.S. relations with China will look like in President Trump's second term, CNBC's Eunice Yoon reports.
Trump has messaged before that he is willing to negotiate on Taiwan, for example. But is he really? Because then he has Mike Waltz or he has Marco Rubio, who are very hardline.
Plus, Jeff Bezos writing a big inauguration check. Higher egg prices are no yolk. And
alien drones all over New Jersey.
The mysterious somethings flying over the Garden State.
We know it's not bad, but we don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is, but don't worry about it. It's fine.
So weird.
It's Friday, the 13th. Lucky us. Squawk Pod begins right now.
Stand Becky by in 3, 2, 1. Cue it, please.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Squawk Box here on CNBC. We are live from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. I'm Becky Quick, along with Joe Kernen and Andrew
And she can't
Sorkin.
laugh when you.
I can't laugh. I can't smile. Getting there. Surgery earlier this week.
You ever said that before?
Andrew walked in and said, "Hey, how's your mouth?"
How's the mouth?
How's the mouth feeling?
Like, there's a question.
How's the mouth feeling?
I get it. No, it's totally appropriate given the current circumstances.
It is, but it's just not
It does
something you
sound a
hear
little funny.
every day.
How's the mouth?
How's the mouth? And happy Friday 13th.
How about you? How's the mouth?
It's an appropriate question given.
I know, given the stitches and everything
circumstances.
else.
Yeah,
And it does get
Can't
us
talk
able
very
to
well.
make you try to laugh and.
Which is what you've been doing ever since yesterday, trying to get me to split these stitches open.
No, I like to always try to make people
Ease me.
laugh.
You do.
Okay, meantime, shares of Broadcom, they are sharply higher this morning. The chip suppliers' earnings beating estimates. Revenue, though, falling slightly short. Investors, though, focusing on the guidance. That's the piece of all of this that everybody's been focused on. Broadcom expecting sales of its AI products to jump. Are you ready for it? 65% in the current quarter. That is far, far faster than the overall semiconductor growth of about 10%. On the call, the CEO, Hock Tan, saying Broadcom was won 2 major new hyperscaler customers. Those are the biggest operators of data centers, and that stock is flying this morning up about close to 15%.
60%
right now.
on what base, I wonder, though? You know what I mean?
Well, sure,
Got to
but
be small.
Well, it's
sure,
a
but if
new
you think that you can be growing at that kind of rate,
Right.
it changes the dynamic completely.
Right.
Meantime, we are watching shares of Costco. The Warehouse Club reported earnings of $4.04. That's $4.04 per share. It beat estimates of $3.79. Revenue also beating expectations as well. And on that call, the Costco's CFO saying the customers have remained, well, he says is selective with purchases, but have shown they are willing to spend. Sales of jewelry, luggage, furniture, all especially strong during the quarter. That stock up just marginally. So
I think their transactions were flat, the overall number of transactions, but up either on inflation or people buying more stuff.
The Santa Claus rally is a specific time, as Santoli always points out. It's it's after Christmas. But we think of December as a very seasonally strong period. I don't know why. It just seems like a time when stocks go up. And if you were going to begin a little bit of a pullback or a correction, you might start it like this, remember what we're saying is, we're right near highs. It's been down 4 days in a row, and it's a crappy week, and everything's down. But that's how you would do it. You do it so that no one really thinks it's a beginning. You don't think it's the beginning of anything. I don't think it's the beginning of anything.
No.
Maybe it is the beginning of something.
Maybe it sneaks up on us, but I
think it's sneaking up on us.
like big declines usually come with some scary news that shocks the market and falls.
Alien drones.
I am
all
bothered.
over New Jersey.
I will say I am totally bothered by the drone story and what we keep hearing from officials. The governor saying
because we don't
know what it is, but don't worry about it.
We
it's
think
safe.
they're competent, and if it was something to worry about, we think they'd tell us. But they didn't
us.
with the spy balloon.
Yeah.
That made it all the way across before.
I'm very unsatisfied with every answer that
they say. We
comes
know it's
out
not
from
bad, but we don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is, but don't worry about it. It's fine.
So weird.
Which it can't be one and the same. Either these are
follow-
our military drones, or there's a big problem here.
That's hopefully what it is. That
Hopefully
they
they're
don't
just
want to
lying
tell
to
us that it's
Right.
top secret stuff that we're doing.
Right.
Hopefully.
But if it's not that, you guys are.
But they're saying it's not dangerous. But then one of the one of the politicians said he talked to someone who had a helicopter that was looking down at one of these things the size of a car and decided, I'm going to land because I don't feel safe with this thing buzzing. So how can you say unequivocally that it's safe? Why
unless
can't you follow?
Unless it's ours.
Right, but why can't you follow one and see where it goes?
Because when they have sent, when people have sent their own drones up to check it out, it immediately drains their batteries and their drones drop, which happens around areas like Area 51.
These are industrial drones relative to the kind of drones that you can.
These are like military style.
You need military style drones.
You could follow one.
No, it doesn't. Everyone that does it drains their battery instantaneously.
You need military.
If there are, send up one like it to follow where it goes.
Just tell us what's actually going on. If it's ours, tell us. If it's not,
it's weird. It's bad.
And then all of them saying we don't know what it is, but it doesn't look like it's dangerous.
How about the guy yesterday, Kirby, saying that really people aren't really seeing what they think they're seeing.
Yeah.
Using very sophisticated electronic detection technologies provided by federal authorities, we have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings.
It's total BS. Yeah. Most of these are just small planes.
They're not
people
just small
are
planes.
mistaken, and people know. So maybe he's in on it and just lying. He's done a lot. He's really good at that. He's
all
done
we know
a lot.
is they're not telling us the truth.
Right. Okay. There's some weird unity going on in the country right now. I don't know how long it lasts, but suddenly Jeff Bezos planning to visit President-elect Trump next week at Mar-a-Lago, and ahead of that, Wall Street Journal reports that Amazon, like Meta, is planning a $1 million donation to Trump's inaugural fund. The Journal said Bezos and the company made the decision earlier this week and have already communicated it to Trump's team. Amazon plans to stream the inauguration through its Prime Video business. Earlier this week, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg directed his company to make a $1 million donation to that fund. I think it's the calm before the storm with all this. I think we'll be back in political on January 20th and the deportations and everything, all this hard work. That is very controversial, then we're going to be back.
Look, you're going to have, I'm sure, arguments on both sides of the political aisle. My guess is you may not hear business leaders speaking up quite as loudly.
Well, even now, my son told me he sees things on Twitter and everywhere else. People are canceling their Washington Post subscription because of this donate, and just livid that this is happening. And we got all the other weird stuff happening, like U.S. senators saying, well, people reach a point, what do you expect? Things like this are to be expected. You can only push people so far with health care. And then they deserve to be killed.
And AOC and some of these comments
that's
that have been
implying,
made. I know.
When you
know.
It's staggering to me. Staggering.
Started with Tim Wu.
And others. Elizabeth Warren should know better. Should she not?
I think everybody should know. That's why the whole conversation makes me very...
Well, yours is that you're worried it's going to, that it's going to spiral and start spreading, which that's insane. If that can't happen, that's insane, don't you think? But did you see all the posters up around here?
Well, hello.
And one of them has an X in it. We already got him, and then there's all these other people.
Yes, but that's why having all of these conversations, it's not to say we should not be having important conversations about healthcare and healthcare insurance and the whole, but to do it as inspired by this is very dangerous.
But we should. I think we should point out
an incentive system for people to create more violence.
But I think we should condemn what we're seeing.
Oh, 100%.
And the reaction to it. That's what I'm saying.
Condemn it where these left and right and center.
Yeah.
Okay.
The FTC now accusing the largest U.S. distributor of wine and spirits of illegal price discrimination that they say favored large chains over mom and pops in a new lawsuit against Southern Glazer Wine and Spirits. The FTC saying the distributor deprived smaller businesses of access to discounts and rebates, harming their ability to compete with larger chains like Costco, Kroger, and Total Wine and more. Now, Southern Glazer is the 10th largest privately held company in the United States. It generates, I didn't even know this, about $26 billion, guys, in revenue from sales to retail customers in 2023. FTC Chair Lena Khan and two other commissioners voted in favor of bringing the lawsuit under the Robinson-Patman Act, It's the first FTC claim under that act in nearly 25 years, and that 1936 law was designed to prevent price discrimination. Now, 2 commissioners, we should mention, voted against the suit, among them Andrew Ferguson, who is President-elect Trump's pick to replace Lina Khan as FTC chair in January. Now, in a dissenting statement, he said Southern appears likely to succeed on a cost justification defense and said he had not seen sufficient evidence that would show more than a very slight harm to competition. Of course, the big issue in this case, as in most cases like this, is, if you're a big retail outlet like a Walmart or a Costco, you're able to get much greater discounts from wholesalers. Like, that's the way this goes. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this case moves forward.
Egg prices are approaching record highs. There's 2 big reasons why this is happening. We've seen this movie before. Bird flu has reduced egg supply. And there is a strong consumer demand right now as we get into the thick of the holiday season. Christmas. I don't know. Are you dying eggs?
Eggnog.
Eggnog. I know. It must
and
be,
baking.
Must be an alcohol shortage too.
Well, it's also baking. There's lots of things. Like, you gotta have.
True. But it's not Easter.
It's not Easter.
There's no Easter egg hunts. One egg supplier says it's likely we'll soon see prices near the record high set in January 2023 of $4.82 a dozen for grade A eggs. I will say they're so amazing as just nutrition and protein and everything. 482, even at 482, that's one of the best.
Oh, it's the best deal. This is what I've told our kids
town
when they went off to college. Like, if you're starving and you don't have money, you can always make eggs. It's protein. It's cheap. You can get this, and you should figure out how to.
If you're on a deserted island, except for not being able to hard boil them or cook them, but that's the one food.
Fire, you can cook them.
Right. That's the one food. That's the one thing. If you could have one thing, Sorkin.
Eggs. It's not that cheap. But then what happens? You go to these super organic ones that are like, then it gets in a whole other level.
What about one food on an island? It can't be a Krispy Kreme.
Blueberries are the one food you're supposed to eat.
Can't be Krispy Kremes.
Blueberries are the one food you're supposed to eat that are great for your brain.
You have diarrhea nonstop. You need it.
Okay, presented without comment.
Cheese will be next.
Coming up on Squawk Pod, an invitation sent to Beijing for the American inauguration on January 20th. Will Xi Jinping come to Washington? It might not matter.
Do you think that President-elect Trump invited him knowing that he wouldn't come, but hoping that he gets credit for the invitation anyway? Have you ever invited somebody to a dinner party hoping that they don't come?
CNBC's Beijing bureau chief Eunice Yoon weighs in right after this. This is Squawk Pod.
You're watching Squawk Box on CNBC. I'm Andrew Ross Sorkin, along with Joe Kernen and Becky Quick. President-elect Donald Trump inviting Chinese leader Xi Jinping to his inauguration. That's according to a transition spokesperson, signaling potentially, we'll see, a thawing of relations between Washington and Beijing. That is the question of the morning. Eunice Yoon is here, right here in studio at the table, no less, to tell us about what is going on and what it all portends. What do you think?
Well, the state media is not reporting it at all, that there's been any invitation. And I think it's very difficult to see President Xi actually coming here for the inauguration because it's not a situation that he can control. He would risk potentially being humiliated, looking like he's number 2, looking as though he's not fallible, or that he's not infallible, that he is fallible, which is something that the Communist Party right now does not like to portray. But at the same time, the Chinese, I think, wouldn't want to be seen as not cooperating. So likely there would be a senior official who would come, and that they would want to send that message of cooperation, not only to the Trump administration, but also to the people back home to show that China is acting like the statesperson.
Do you think that President Trump, President-elect Trump, invited him knowing that he wouldn't come, but hoping that he gets credit for the invitation anyway? Have you ever invited somebody to a dinner party hoping that they don't come, but hoping that they're very happy that you invited them anyway?
So that he could mark it, right?
Well, so they can mark it, and more importantly, so that then they can go back to him later and say, we're pals.
Well, everybody
I invited you to my dinner party.
Right.
I know you couldn't make it.
Right.
You live across the world, but, we're.
I think it's possible, but this is the issue right now when it comes to China policy, because in China circles, people are really confused about what Trump's actual China policy is going to be. So on the one hand, he nominates China hawks like Representative Mike Waltz as NSA, right? And then
Or Marco Rubio.
Right, or Marco Rubio. And then you look at Marco Rubio. He's sanctioned by China. He's now the pick for Secretary of State. At the same time, then you have an invitation for President Xi to come.
And you have David Perdue
right.
being named as ambassador to China.
Right, and he has
had a lot of dealings and understands China from all the imports that he's done.
Absolutely, and then you could throw in Elon Musk. He has a sizable business, so it all kind of adds up to a lot of unpredictability. And from what I understand, the Trump administration sees unpredictability in their favor for the negotiations. Going to your point,
China doesn't particularly care for unpredictability, right?
Well, they don't. Yes, exactly. They don't like unpredictability, but so they see it as favor. But at the same time, it could be also leading to miscalculation,
right,
depending on what happens.
But generally speaking, do you think that the Chinese, and I'm curious what the press said, after the election, they were happier that Trump was the president, or they were happier? They were pushing for Biden.
There's a lot.
I should say Kamala Harris.
No, there's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, I was asked many times by different government officials what is going to happen over the next several months.
Right.
And there's just people just don't really know. And they see that maybe on the trade side that there are going to be tariffs coming in, but in terms of policy, Trump has messaged before that he is willing to negotiate on Taiwan, for example.
Right.
But is he really? Because then he has Mike Waltz or he has Marco Rubio, who are very hardline. So people just don't know what's going to happen, and then that just leads to this
uncertainty. Do you think Taiwan's on the table? Is that a view inside China that Taiwan is now, that if the Chinese want to take Taiwan, they can?
There's definitely a hardline belief that if Trump is amenable to it, that maybe the Chinese should go in, that Xi Jinping should go for that. At the same time, it would be so disruptive to the economy, to China. And right now, because of the economic situation, China doesn't really need that level of disruption.
I have another negotiating question, which has to do with this idea that all of these tariffs and everything is a grand negotiation.
Right.
How much leverage do you have, or how much leverage does President Trump have if everybody knows that it's a negotiation? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
If you thought that he was actually going to go do these things and wanted to do them, that's an actually different posture than it's a negotiation, because the negotiation suggests that in a perfect world, you'd prefer not to do any of these things.
See, my question has been, what is a negotiation for? What's in the grand bargain?
Right.
So do you want the Chinese to stop violating intellectual property rights, stop stealing corporate secrets, stop with hacking, stop with subsidies? Because when it comes to it, I feel that since the first term, what's become more evident is that the Chinese government wants to make sure that they have tech dominance and they have national security in place, more than growth. So then what are you actually negotiating?
Final question, TikTok.
Yes.
Is that become a chess piece in this story, which is to say that it actually is supposed to stop working? I shouldn't say stop working. Stop being updated.
That's right.
Through the app stores, literally the day before, I believe, the inauguration.
Yeah.
Do you believe that that is something that is significant and material to President Xi?
Well, Jeff Yass is seen as somebody who is much more amenable to having TikTok survive. So I think there is a hope that because of the influence that he would have on President Trump, that the Chinese would be able to have TikTok survive here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, before you guys go, I'd like to invite you all to a dinner party tonight at my house. I know it's not China, but New Jersey might as well be, right?
Wow.
She knows we can't make it. So she gets credit for the invitation, but that's... Right.
I can make it.
Boy, now I'm in trouble.
You know what? I'll take my drone over to your yard.
We can go out and take pictures in the backyard and look for them.
No, we'll ride it over.
Thank you, Eunice. Great to see you.
Still to come. First, she reinvented modern shapewear. Now she's changing how women think about and wear high heels. Spanx founder Sara Blakely on her newest retail venture.
People become entrepreneurs for two reasons. You invent something that didn't already exist, or you make something exponentially better that already does, right? You know, whether it's a product or a service. And I love filling that white space.
Squawk Pod. We'll be right back. You're listening to Squawk Pod with Joe Kernen, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Here's Becky.
Up and Becky, cue.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Our next guest is a self-made billionaire who started Spanx with just $5,000 that she made by selling fax machines door to door. She is a self-starter. She's amazing. Sara Blakely is here with us this morning. And of course, she has now branched out from shapewear and clothing. She's got a new venture. It's a sneaker heel hybrid shoe that's called Sneaks. It retails for somewhere between $395 and $595 a pair. This is not cheap. But a lot of people think it's essential. Sara, thank you for joining us this morning. It is great to see you.
It's great to see you guys.
I mean, you are the woman who made all of our butts look better, and we were so appreciative. And now you've come along with this heel that makes your leg look longer, but it doesn't crush your toes.
Right.
It doesn't kill your feet.
Right.
And I had stopped wearing heels except for like 5 minutes here or there.
Same.
These are great. This is the mother of all necessity. Why don't you talk about how you came up with this idea and how long you were working on it?
Sure. So I love to solve problems for women, and I'm a frustrated consumer with Spanx. Couldn't figure out what to wear under white pants, so created a solution. And a frustrated consumer of heels. Like, I love heels, but they've been so uncomfortable. I can barely walk in them. So I wanted to see if I could invent a comfortable stiletto. And I started 10 years ago. It was a side hustle. I was doing it on the side while running Spanx and having 4 kids. And after 4 years of development, and I have it made in Europe, so they're made in Spain, but I worked with a lot of factories in Italy and Spain trying to get this made. Tons of resistance, very similar to my experience with Spanx 25 years ago.
Yeah, and let's go back to Spanx and just talk about that, because when you came up with this, you had to go from factory to factory where they were making pantyhose, and men had been making this the same way for decades and decades and decades.
Forever.
And they all looked at you and thought, what's wrong with you? We do it the old way.
Yeah. And it's very similar. It's wild. It's 25 years later, and my experience was almost the same. I mean, I'm standing in factories, all men. Men have been making our high heels for like 400 years for the most part. And I couldn't even find one man in my journey that had ever put a heel on. So it was really interesting, you know? And so anyway, I was really determined to make this comfortable stiletto. After 4 years of creating it, I intended it to look just like a traditional high heel. And I didn't succeed in getting it comfortable enough, right? I have this rule: if it's not 10x more comfortable or better than anything else on the market, I don't launch it. Like, it's not worth starting a company or a brand around something. It's pretty significant, needs to be different and better. So at the 4-year mark, I looked at the factory owner and I said, it's more comfortable than what I have, but it's not exponentially more comfortable. I'm going to pull the cord. And I said, I just want this to feel as comfortable as my sneaker. Like, how hard is this? We put a man on the moon, which is what I said the whole development of Spanx. Now I have to say to them, we shot a go-kart from Earth to Mars, and we're driving it by remote control from Earth. Like, we have to be able to create a comfortable high heel. And then I pivoted and I went home and I cut my sneaker in half and attached it to the back of my stiletto and just started playing with that concept of, can I make this look, you know, beautiful? Can I make this design collaboration between the two types of shoes work?
Can we show them off?
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of you have them on.
We both have them on.
And I should say, I have a whole bunch of friends who you know, actually, who wear these and own them. They wear them with pantsuits, they wear them with dresses, they wear them with jeans.
They really are comfortable. I'll tell you,
Becky has
I
them
can
on
run
too.
in these things. I literally can run it.
One of the things, though, that I'm fascinated by is the design choice, because you're right. It's a shift from the traditional stiletto.
Yes.
But the other thing, and actually a woman who owns these was discussing this with me last week, 2 weeks ago, was just the narrow. They're wider so your feet can spread out. She's saying they're so much more comfortable.
Right.
However, she said, you know, from the front, they sort of have a narrow profile, so that they sort of look like right?
Yes.
So speak to just that whole design process.
So I design from the inside out, and I think most designers they either go functionality or they go beauty, and I'm very fascinated by the merger of the both. I don't think that I need to compromise as a woman. And so when I was developing this, I recognized 3 main pain points that women have in our traditional high heels. The toe box squeezing our toes, the weight on our ball of our foot. Traditional high heels for hundreds of years, 80% of the weight is on the ball of our foot and 20% is on the heel. Well, that is really uncomfortable, right? So I wanted to fix the ball of the foot pressure. And the third was I wanted to fill the whole shoe, to fill the gap that is bridged in a heel between the heel and the ball of the foot for the woman. So it's more stable and she feels more supported in her whole foot. So it really is fascinating. You put this 3-inch stiletto on and it's a feeling that you can't describe because
I've my entire life, I can't believe you walk around in those things. And the holy grail would be, like men, we have these now. We have like sneakers that are kind of like this. So
This is the female equivalent.
Yeah, this is a female equivalent that I didn't think could be done because of that stiletto. And I still can't imagine. I don't know what
Joe,
the
I'm not
point
joking.
is.
I can actually. Well, the point is, it makes your legs look longer and makes you taller.
I guess so, but it's just
the-
not a weight. It's you would never design a shoe like that with that heel if it was form follows function. Mies van der Rohe would never design a pump. It's just
right. Well, the fashion industry for a very long time has cared a lot about how we look and not as much about how we feel. Like they even gave us a tagline. Like my grandmother told my mother, who then told me, beauty is pain. Like, but why? Like, why does it have to be? So the fascinating thing, Joe, is how many men have stopped me in these shoes and said, I love those. I want to get them for my wife, my daughter. Like, I've had men pull off the side of the road here in New York and yell, like, love your shoes.
Sometimes my wife is so far ahead of me, I'm like, then other times when we're going out and she's got those heels, so it's like, what is,
where are you?
How quickly she can walk totally depends on
what shoes.
So now that this is such a success,
Yes.
how worried are you that others are going to copycat what you've done? I mean, there were a lot of copycats of Spanx.
A lot. And Spanx is still great and doing well. So
You have patents on these.
I have patents. I have a lot of design patents on it. I have a utility patent pending for the innovation side of it. I always say I wake up in the morning and you have a choice to be an innovator or an imitator. And I'm always going to.
How far do you think you go with these designs? I mean, how many?
So I have lots of other ideas in my
Right.
mind. This is the first product.
For other shoes or
yes,
for other products?
Lots of other shoes. And my point will be luxury comfort. Like I've been spending $800 to $1,200 on shoes that I can't walk in, and I am really interested in giving women an alternative to that. So
what I think is so interesting about this is when you did Spanx, you not only created this, went to the factories, you then went to Neiman Marcus, and you would stand in a store, store by store, and try and tell women, hey, you should really try these, and sell them direct to consumer in a store. With this one, you're going direct to consumer at this point. And you're able to do that because of the web. What's made that decision? Are you looking to get into stores too?
I love, because this product is so disruptive, I really wanted a direct conversation with the consumer to start. I mean, I started Spanx primarily in wholesale. For 15 years, it was almost an all wholesale business. I was really interested in going direct to consumer to start. I do think wholesale plays a role in women in particular being able to try them on, and I've had great wholesale partners. So I'm sure there will be a moment where we will consider that and it will make sense for the brand. But right now, I love just being .com, and it's so fun. It's been so fun. I haven't been in startup mode in 25 years. When I started Spanx, I didn't have children. I have 4 small children now. I named one of the styles of the shoe after my daughter, Tepper. They're all very involved in the business. They didn't get to see me put in the sweat equity with Spanx. And so now they're like, I've got boxes of shoes in our garage, and it's like full startup. And it's a teaching moment for them as well that I really like.
It's hard though, starting from scratch and doing this all over. What did you do differently this time? What did you learn from your first experience with Spanx?
I haven't done much different because it really worked out the first time around. So I love creating I think people become entrepreneurs for two reasons. You invent something that didn't already exist, or you make something exponentially better that already does, right? You know, whether it's a product or a service. And I love filling that white space for myself and then for other women. And this shoe didn't exist. I associated going to events, like Joe mentioned his wife, with pain. So I'd get invited to a wedding or I'd get invited to an event, and I would literally associate it with pain. I'd be like, I'm going to be in pain.
How long do I have to wear these things? How long do I have to wear these things?
Who came up with Sneaks?
I did.
Damn good.
She came up with Spanx too. Like, you're a marketing guru
No,
on top of this.
but I'd be, if I were Spanx, I might be mad. I don't know what you have to do with it anymore. But Sneaks is so good, and it references that a little bit. But sneakers and
Yeah.
So you knew that all. Which came first? I'm going to call it Sneaks, and then you developed it, or you developed it and then said.
I developed it and then
came up with Sneaks.
Yep.
You didn't pay anyone for that? You should pay yourself for that.
You want to hear something crazy about that? I was looking at a lot of different names for .coms. They're so expensive, right? I mean, a few other names that I had considered wanted $1 million, $1.5 million for the name, and Sneaks.com I bought for the same exact price I bought Spanx.com 25 years ago, $5,000.
$5,000. So someone did have it though.
Yeah.
And did they know?
It was
okay.
on it. No.
So
it was,
when
you always get a
when you bought
broker.
it, you didn't say who you were.
No.
Right. Because then they try to rip you off. If you said I'm Sara Blakely, they'll say, okay, well.
And I bought Spanx.com 25 years ago from a guy from Oregon through a broker who was waiting for the porn industry to buy it. And by the way, when I first started Spanx, you know, the name.
I don't understand.
The name was.
No, yeah.
The name Spanx was shocking.
Right.
Like people, stores refused to sell Spanx because of the name.
Right.
My mom sent her whole luncheon to the wrong website when I first launched. I was like.
God.
But you thought,
I'd always say it's with an X. It's with an X.
And you
people.
thought Spanx was funnier with an X. That's why you did it. I remember
well,
at
it's
the
more
time.
memorable, and I did research that made-up words do better for products than real words do. So at the last second, I typed in Spanx with a KS on uspto.gov, and then I backspaced it and put an X. And I trademarked Spanx for $150 with my credit card on that website.
That's
Spanx
amazing.
Triple X taken, you know?
That's a whole nother line, Joe.
Sara,
like Wicked Pictures with those little dolls.
we love having you here. Thank you so much for coming through. Before you go, just because you always share everything, can you tell me about your shoes today?
Yes. So I accidentally have on 2 different height heels today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so packing, I grabbed a 4-inch prototype. And
the other one, okay.
So I've got a 4-inch prototype on my right foot and a 3-inch heel on my left foot, and I'm walking like a pirate. But I'm here.
Or like a shopping cart with yeah, okay.
But I'm here.
Do you have a lot
You
of
are.
walking to do today?
Can you notice, honestly, can you tell?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've done it too. I've worn 2 different shoes in here. That's what we're
So they
laughing
come in
about. You
different
wear
heights,
2
so
different-
that's interesting too.
Well, no, it's a prototype.
Oh, it's a prototype, okay.
Yeah.
So it's the 3-inch.
Working on a lot of different things, mostly listening to the consumer. It's wild how many.
What was the biggest
You're
lesson
sold
so
out,
far?
right?
Yeah, we've sold out so many times since we launched. Most of the women, it's fascinating what percentage of our consumers own 4 pair or more. And we've only been in business 3 months, really. And, over 15% of our consumers have bought, more than 1 pair in 12 weeks. So that's just testament that they're so happy. The women that like this really like it.
Sara Blakely. Sara, thank you. It's
Thank
great
you for
having you here.
having me.
And we hope to see you again soon.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys.
Sara Blakely.
That's the pod for today and for the week. Thanks for listening. Squawk Box is hosted by Joe Kernen, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Tune in weekday mornings on CNBC at 6 Eastern. And to get the smartest takes and analysis from our TV show right into your ears, please follow Squawk Pod wherever you get your podcasts. We'll meet you right back here on Monday. Have a great weekend.
We are clear. Thanks, guys.